New York's hottest club is a Spirit Halloween. Located in the decaying entrails of a Bed Bath & Beyond, this place has everything. Wigs, props, unaccompanied children, fog machines that take an entire case of D batteries, generically named costumes that just avoid being copyrighted content, and MTV's Dan Cortez. So come on down this weekend. The password is 1 hour, 1 brain cell. And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 41. It's no longer a milestone episode, so congratulations. You've survived all of those for like at least another 10 episodes. But we're happy to be here at the 1 hour, 1 brain cell podcast. And I am joined today, as always, by my co-host Richie, who I believe is making a lot of money on his recent investment in the magical amulet business.
How did you know? It is my latest endeavor. Making a lot of money there. It's great. I love getting to we'll get to it later. trying to come up with a joke there. We're gonna have to give me 20 minutes to come up with the joke I was looking for.
Yeah.
I am joined by my co-host Jordan, who is running the show this week straight purely off of Red Bull and Inshallah this week.
It's all vibes. This is really podcast after dark for me. Like, we had podcast after dark territory last week, but this is podcast after dark because it's like 7:30 p.m.
It is actually
we never
dark.
Record this late. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. We never record this late. And we also have our brand new look for the show this week, which we'll be showing over the next like 2 weeks. Spooky season, Agatha season.
Yes,
we got a lot to talk about. But
what we do in the Shadows season too. That the final season just started, and I fell asleep before they released the episodes. They came out on Monday night at like midnight into Tuesday, and you'll be shocked by this. I actually did fall asleep before midnight on Monday night, so I didn't get the chance to watch any. So as soon as we get done here and I head back home, that's on my to-do list for this evening is to watch. They put out 3 episodes of the final season of What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, if you're not watching that show, just get on that because it's incredible and you'll love it.
Creepy paper.
Master, look at this. It's very macabre. And then he just lights it on fire. The early seasons are so funny.
In New York City.
All of it is good. All of it is so good. There's the bit about it's we drank the blood of some people, but they were on drugs, and now I'm a wizard. And he's got the traffic cone on his head. We could do so many impersonations probably of from that show, and we'll spare you that. But
this is how they speak in Tucson, Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. That's something else. I mean, it could very well be. Tucson is a weird place, and we know this, but
ain't that true? Yes.
All right, we have a lot of random stuff on the docket this week. I feel like we say this every week, but it's especially true this time around because none of it makes sense together. So, where do you want to start? I guess we could pick a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 bullet points. You could pick a number 1 through 7 and we'll start there.
4.
Because
it's 4:21.
We get to start with our Formula 1 hour Formula 1 brain cell segment then.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Right. All right. Let's talk about Circuit of the Americas. One of my least favorite tracks to drive on F123, but that's maybe just me personally. So
it's tough, which is why it's like legit. I know you don't like to drive on F123. I love it. I really enjoy racing there, and I love watching racing there. I think they did such a cool job designing that racetrack and implementing so many things from a lot of historic Formula One tracks and making it a place that is really fun to race at. If you were on Saturday and Sunday in the sprint race and in the Grand Prix this weekend, the racing was terrific. The track is so wide, you can go side by side there. It's got some quick parts of the track. It's got some really hard braking zones for overtaking. I love it. It was a lot of fun to watch this weekend, and yeah, and I wish they'd have more racing at COTA personally, and I want to go there for 2025. I want to make it out to the U.S. Grand Prix, even though it's really
That
expensive.
feels so no, but it feels so attainable, and, like, especially compared to the other US races, like, Las Vegas is so unattainable because of how expensive it is,
Right.
even though, like, transportation-wise, you have that pretty well sorted because you could drive it. Uh,
Correct. Yes.
Texas is more of an ambitious drive, although you could do it, but the ticket price is less, so
Mm-hmm.
you could fly and make that back up, but Miami is so expensive, it just
Mm-hmm.
because of where and what it is, but COTA is one of the more affordable, and like you said, it's great racing, so it's fun to watch, and I feel like it delivers something fun every year. This year, it delivered the return of our diva, the safety car, after, like, 10 races, where the safety car drivers just got to put their feet up and, like, listen to commentary. Uh, so that came back, which was, like, okay, I guess. It didn't really change a lot in terms of the race outcome, but
But we don't have to talk about why the safety car came out, do we?
no, but we can talk about the fact that we had a particular incident with that team in both qualifying and the race, which was kinda horrible. It
Yes.
was like yeah, it was anyway, that was the thing. It was
Were you? Yeah. Were you were watching because you were actually doing something quite entertaining, and you were watching a undefeated football team on Saturday.
it was, yeah.
Shout out to College Game Day. They're coming to Bloomington this weekend because we're coming out on Friday. And so if you're watching this on a Friday, um, you can watch College Game Day from Bloomington on Saturday
I already
morning.
heard that people are camping out for this. It's gonna be
That's
a big
sick.
deal. We're
That's cool.
excited. So,
That's so cool.
yeah, there's
They
it's
haven't
a
said
huge
who the
buzz.
guest picker is going to be. There's
Mm-mm.
been some rumors about who it could be.
Last week on Big Noon Kickoff, it was Mellencamp.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know. There's some rumors swirling, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I've
Whoever it
heard
is, it'll
Mark
be
Cuban's
exciting.
name thrown out there, Kyle
Mhm.
Schwarber.
Mhm.
I've heard Caitlin Clark, but screw that. She didn't go to IU. She
Right.
no,
Right.
no. I know she's
Yeah.
Indiana, but no, no.
Yeah,
Oh,
we need a better connection.
or IndyCar drivers. You can grab an IndyCar driver and do it. That'd be sick. Like Joseph
That's true.
Newgarden. I know he doesn't really have a lot of ties to Indiana. He's not from there, but two-time Indy 500 champion. That'd be dope.
That's true. I'm sort of hoping they don't pick somebody from the basketball program, even though they're gonna be, readily available because we're trying to make it about the
Yeah.
football team and their recent success, but, like, some of those are easy contacts that,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be on campus,
Yeah,
but
no Isaiah Thomas. Do not bring Isaiah Thomas out, okay? We don't want that.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, anyway,
Maybe.
how do we got anyway? Um back on track.
I was busy on Saturday, but
Literally.
I was not too busy to watch the sprint race or qualifying, which also happened during an event that I was busy at later in the night.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the end of qualifying and I saw pretty much all the sprint race.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we got the return of my beloved Max Verstappen pole graphic and Max Verstappen
Yes.
winner graphic for the sprint. And I truly think we would have got pole again if it hadn't been for George Russell in qualifying. He was nuking that time that Lando Norris had set before the yellow flags came out. So
Stupid Mercedes. It's always got to be Mercedes. Always got to be Mercedes. I know I've said this on the show before, but I'm so glad Lewis Hamilton is getting the heck out of there in 5 more races. I know he won 6 championships with them, but like whatever. Just I want him out of there. And I'm glad Ferrari's on the uptake now. And Lewis is headed to Ferrari with Chuck next year. And that's gonna be a great tandem. Because every turn George Russell goes and screws things up at every turn. Mercedes goes and screws things up for Lewis at every turn.
it does. It seems like they're really screwing him over with his strategy and they're just not giving him the same treatment that they're giving George. And that's absurd to me, given that that's your multiple time world champion.
Yes.
One of the greatest drivers of all time, no argument. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like even in qualifying, Lewis was qualifying out back, didn't make it out of Q3 because Mercedes was stupid and put them out on used soft tires and didn't put in the time enough to move them into the next.
Right, and like everybody knew that track was evolving too. Like whatever your first time was, that wasn't gonna hold unless you were leaps and bounds above the rest of the field, because people were gaining multiple tenths on their second runs just as the track rubbers and wears in and stuff. But I don't know, that was miserable.
And then he got a lap, his second run, he got his lap deleted, and so he didn't make it to Q2. But so yeah, that was a rough weekend to be a Lewis fan for sure. But hey, 5 more races left. You never know. Maybe get one final run with Mercedes would be sick. But the important thing is title race is over. The championship, the World Drivers' Championship, I think we can say is over.
I don't want to say anything yet, but like mathematically, it's not looking good for anybody who's not named Max Verstappen. It's still possible. Technically, it's still, I mean, it's still possible for Leclerc. It's still possible for the orange one. It's both of the orange ones, I guess. But the gap is widening. This weekend was important for that because I think Max gained a net total of 5 or 6 points in the title race. And like we said a couple of episodes ago, that gap has been, I don't know, 53 points or more since Lando's first win at Miami. So all of this manufactured drama about the title race, numerically, it really hasn't changed. So unless something weird and crazy happens, which I'm hoping it doesn't, it looks okay. And the outlook is good at the moment. We also saw, for, I don't know, maybe a little bit of karmic retribution, there was maybe some greed from the McLaren team that was like, you've been so fast in all of these races. And then they went and brought like 6 more upgrades to COTA and nothing happened. And arguably maybe it was worse. Like their pace was worse than it has been. Could it be because they've been forced to change all their wings? Who knows? But we didn't really hear anything about that because people were too busy bashing.
They spent
Red
all
Bull's
week
fake
complaining.
bid system. Right. All
Zach
week.
Brown, that's all he did is just complain.
McLaren.
Yeah. McLaren, that was
McLaren. They were complaining all week about this Red Bull bib and whatever, that like that device doesn't exist and couldn't be changed in that way. But they were so pointed on putting the emphasis on that we got away from the fact that the FIA was like, yeah, we made them change all their wings. Otherwise, it would have been totally illegal.
Right.
No,
Welcome back, Real Formula One. Complain.
You didn't hear anything about that. Welcome back, McLaren cheating strategies. It's been a couple years since we've last seen you try and completely copy a car from Ferrari, but okay. It's fine. Ferrari brought no upgrades. They said, we have Leclerc. And he drove brilliantly. Carlos Sainz had a great weekend as well. Like kind of lost in the shuffle, but also had a really good weekend.
Carlos Sainz was great. He had that overtake in the sprint race. I think on the final lap of, I think one of the McLarens, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. It's all a blur to me. This weekend didn't happen. I didn't get enough sleep. So I was like, this is all the same. I don't know who won. Yeah.
Welcome to my world, baby.
Yep, here we are. So anyway, it was a good weekend for Ferrari, and they, like I said, they brought no upgrades. They just decided that we're going to outdrive everybody else, and then they did.
Yeah. Great drive by Leclerc. That overtake on lap 1 into turn 1 was just elite. That was
insane,
incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. Watching the onboard of that, it was either brave or stupid to put his car where he did, because he could have easily got binned or front winged or whatever else. Like, just there were other cars sliding all around him, and he managed to get out of it unscathed and go from 4th to 1st in the first turn, and then just dusted everybody. It was an incredible drive.
Game over. Game over. There's a video game move. I'm pretty sure I've done that exact same move on F123.
Well, everybody ran wide too, which was really weird.
Yeah.
It was that first turn was getting a lot of people caught out, but
Right. Two other things to touch on here and about COTA weekend. Number one, somebody brought this up, which is the possibility, speaking of Ferrari, that Ferrari is on this great run right now, and they're putting together podiums and finishing in the top 4 or 5 on a consistent basis. And if they continue this run with Checo struggling to, finish 7th or 8th, most races really, that Ferrari might overtake Red Bull and maybe even McLaren, because they're still in the constructors race too.
right.
And so this is incredible to me, and this speaks to how good Max Verstappen is, I think, which if this does indeed happen, this might be Max's the best drive of his career, because can you imagine he wins the World Drivers' Championship with a car that has been second, third best, sometimes even fourth best, even behind Mercedes at a couple tracks, and finishes third in the constructors, and Max still wins the World Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, I mean, he's
that would be elite.
single-handedly hauling the scrap heap of the RB20 over the finish line.
Exactly. Yeah. Which leads me to into the next topic here to wrap up this part of the show. And we could probably spend a lot of time on this particular Max and Lando battle, but that Max and Lando battle showed exactly why Max is the best driver on the grid and why he's a world champion. Just incredible defensive driving for 10 plus laps in a row with a McLaren coming down his neck on fresher tires. That was a quicker car. And Lando had nothing for him, pretty much nothing for him that entire final stint. And Max came home third and got the podium there. And that was fun to watch, man. That was so much fun to watch. I was watching the NASCAR race at the same time, and I was locked in to how great that battle is. I was trying to talk to the Speed Freaks folks, my co-host. I'm like, dude, that battle was terrific, and I got made fun of for it. And they were like, well, why did you think that Formula One race was so great? Did you watch the Lando Max battle? It was incredible stuff.
Right, and elsewhere in the midfield, by the way, we got, before the incident, we got Lewis going from 17th to 12th in like the first lap. So incredible start from him. Like we said, we had Leclerc going 4th to 1st in the first turn. We had Haas points. We had Liam Lawson points. We had Franco Colapinto points. I mean, the whole thing was like...
No points for you, Sauber.
Yeah, Sauber is maybe secretly an F3 car. We're not really sure, but yeah. Anyway, we got competitive driving from everybody. We nearly got double Haas points. Just Magnussen had a little issue there at the end that required him to make an extra pit stop, but like it really demonstrated good driving by a lot of drivers, and that sometimes their talent was outpacing the cars that they were driving and netting them some points. And I've been really impressed with Franco, impressed with Liam, but mostly impressed with Franco, because you just took that dude and dropped him into the Williams seat, and he's been outperforming Albon. It was like, that kind of throws out all the notions of like, well, rookies aren't competitive right away. You're like,
he's got to have a seat next year, man. He's got to have a seat. He's earned it. And
I think he's getting this. I think he's getting the Sauber seat. I think Valtteri is.
I can see that.
Maybe going to get the axe, unfortunately.
I can see that happening. Because if you look at the constructors right now, Williams has been passed. They're 8th right now so they are only at 17 points. Franco has like 8 of those or something like that already in like 3 races. And so, yeah, Franco's going to end up passing Alex Albon. I think that's pretty clearly going to be the case. And so, yeah, I think it's hilarious that James Vowles was up Carlos Sainz's ass for 6 months in a row trying to get him to drive for him. And you had your best driver sitting right there in front of you. And now you're going to have to let him walk because you already have 2 drivers for 2025.
I do think it's going to be a regression if that is to happen and Franco's about to go to the Sauber seat. It's going to for sure be a regression in the car because Williams is on a good trajectory with their development right now. They've gotten significantly better over the course of the season. So that'll be hard. It's, you never want to stick a talented driver in a bad car. Well, I mean, I guess it's the same with Valtteri Bottas. He drove for Mercedes and was Lewis's counterpart and good for some years. Just the Sauber doesn't have it
Now he's
right now. And
23rd in the standings, dead last.
and I don't think they're very interested in doing anything because they're going to get eaten by Audi in 2026 anyway. So
Yeah,
like,
this is
why should we
like a
care?
gap year for Sauber or something. I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to call it that, but it's like, or like a red shirt year, to use those terms too, where they just
Yeah, they're
don't
like,
care.
why should we care? Because we're about to get dissolved anyway. So
And so they're going to focus on 2026. So for
yeah.
2026, Audi world champion, whoever it is that's going to be driving for them. I don't know who that will be at that point in time, but I know they want a German driver. I don't know if Nico's going to be around in 2026 anymore.
They want Nico. I mean, he's still got good pace, so who knows?
Yeah. One last thing we need to touch on here. I'm going to bring up the picture because everybody needs to see the picture. Okay, so here we go. I brought this up. This is, of course, the battle between Max and Lando here in the turn that ended up getting Lando Norris penalized. And as you see here, Max is ahead of Lando at the apex of the corner.
By like a third of a car also. That's not a small margin. Also, it was not the only penalty that was given at that turn or for that exact same move or whatever else. The stewards were very consistent with penalizing there. That is much closer.
Yes.
As you can see, and theoretically maybe Russell is behind there at the apex. It depends what line you take. Also a different situation because he was passing through the inside of the track versus passing on the outside on the runoff area in the overtaking area, which you're not allowed to do. You can't pass outside the track. That's cheating. So
yes.
Anyway, but we had a lot of good hard racing also, but like some of those things was like that was maybe a little much.
I wish letter of the law, that's a penalty 10 times out of 10 from Lando Norris. Like if you Anthony Davidson, I sent you the Anthony Davidson breakdown of it, and he did a great job explaining this in detail and comparing it to the George Russell incident on why it was a penalty and why it wasn't, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So letter of the law, that is a penalty. However, as a racing fan, especially on tracks with super wide runoffs like COTA, easily fixable, where you could put I saw somebody mention this before too. Just put gravel there, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Drivers
they
are going
won't.
to go
They
on
won't
in the
go into
gravel,
that.
right? So if you really want to focus more on racing in and out of the racing line, et cetera, just put gravel there, and it fixes everything. But in a runoff area like that, you watch NASCAR Cup cars, NASCAR trucks drive at COTA, and they literally go like 15 feet offline to make some of those corners, and it's fine. NASCAR's like, cool, have at it, boys. No track limits for us, and it's great. So I wish the FIA at tracks like this would just like stay out of it and let them race and not decide things. Either that or number two, which is McLaren and Lando Norris just being stupid because they weren't sure. Like they were talking about on their radio, like, oh, was that a penalty? It's not. They were already complaining. I was like, if it's that close and it's going to be that close, just give the spot back, and Lando's going to pass him on the next lap anyway because he's got the quicker car.
Right. And they were on the radio. They were like, you were ahead at the apex. And it was like, okay. I mean, I don't know how you know that at that moment without looking at the footage and looking at, the still frames and whatever else we have access to. And like you said, not advocating for McLaren at all, but that was dumb strategy because you could have just gotten rid of that if you would have just given the place back.
Yes, exactly. And I tweeted this out at the time, and I stand by it. Lando Norris is an unserious driver, and McLaren is an unserious team when you're making decisions like that. You're not a world championship team. And they've proven all season long because they make the same mistake every time. They can't
There was
get their
also
own
team
way.
radio that came down. I think I sent it to you on Twitter, but somebody had clipped it or screenshotted it from McLaren team radio. It was to Oscar. It was like, Lando's got a 5-second penalty, so you need to back off by a second so that he could finish ahead of
Right.
Piastri, because he would have got passed by both Max and Oscar for third and fourth place respectively, and would have fallen down into fifth if that wasn't the case. So fraudulent world title contender, question mark.
That I would agree with, and I also tweeted this out.
Until
He's never
proven
going to win.
otherwise.
Yeah,
Until proven otherwise.
he's never going to win a world championship. He's never going to do it. And I will tell you, I'm going to tell you this. Mark this down right now. When we get into 2025, and Oscar Piastri is outperforming Lando Norris 5-6 races into the year next year, Lando Norris is going to be the second driver there, and he is never winning a championship. Max Verstappen said as much, dude. He even said it. It's like, Oscar, you're a number one driver. You're not a number two driver. He was stirring the pot there a little bit for sure, but
I like that. He's like, let's stir up some drama over at McLaren. He's like, well, what should I do on my Sunday off? Oh yeah, let's make McLaren all mad at each other.
I don't know what Piastri's contract is looking like, but I have a feeling he's going to go elsewhere and be a number one driver. Where that will be, I don't know. Will it be at Ferrari?
He has to find a good fit, because he's got to find a team that wants to invest in him as a number one, which he's earned, but developmentally isn't so far back of the pack.
Right.
Because he's got the raw talent and he's got the right attitude, and he puts together some really nice and composed and confident drives, and has done some things this season that have really shown like shades of being a top 3 driver, but just he's not in the right spot right now because they're more worried about pushing Lando forward.
Right. Exactly. All right, that will do it for COTA. We have Mexico City coming up this weekend. Excited for that. We got Pato who will be taking over the McLaren in FP1. That'll be exciting. That'll be the one and only time I'll be excited to watch the papaya on the track in Formula One.
Right. I think me too. I think I can set that aside for just a minute. It's also practice, so no stakes, but
yeah. Shout out to IndyCar for not going to Mexico City before NASCAR and screwing the Mexican fans.
Yeah.
Out of seeing Pato. Anyway, I digress. I can go on for a while, so we can move on. I'm glad that I don't have to wake up early again. It'll be nice. I think the race starts at like noon or 11 or noon here in Phoenix, so it's going to be great. We get a couple more weeks of that too, because we have Sao Paulo coming up, and thank goodness.
Yeah, I think one of the only ones left this season that's going to really be brutal for me is Las Vegas, but it's going to be late at night rather than early in the morning. So
yeah, but I still haven't looked. I think that's an 11 p.m. start for me, or like 10:30. It's like we're crushing, baby.
I don't know about
good.
that one.
No Red Bull, inshallah, for me that weekend.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. You're normally awake at that time.
Yes, indeed. All right, we can move on now, I think.
All right. Let's see. Let's talk about magical amulets. I want to go that direction with the show. So humor me. A little backstory for the people, I guess. I'm not sure I really know the whole thing, but in the league that we don't follow anymore because they took our team from us, it's the first week or two of the NHL season. Teams are about 5 or 6 games in, which is like a small sample size, but we already have our first major story of the season, which is John Tavares magical amulet. And hockey Twitter is loving the amulet. I believe it is a venture started by Russell Brand, which is the strangest thing to say. And it's apparently a necklace that protects you from like Wi-Fi and 5G and evil entities, ? Like, I don't know. It's also like $250, but they've somehow scammed John Tavares into believing this. It reminded me, do you remember the bracelets? It was like those balance bracelets or like the fighting necklaces that all the MLB players used to wear, and it was like you could get them at the mall, and they were
Yeah.
they were saying that they would like improve your strength or improve your balance. It reminds me of that, but it's like it wards off Wi-Fi. It's the necklace version of a tinfoil hat or something.
Yes.
And people are on Twitter making amulet memes. It was like upper body, like John Tavares upper body injury, shattered amulet, or like it was the other night, and they played the Lightning, and the Leafs got a penalty for illegal equipment, and somebody tweeted a screenshot of it and said it was the magical amulet. Because people are going crazy. What are
I
your
do.
thoughts on this? Should
I
we
have a
make the
bunch.
amulet mandatory for all players?
I have a. Well, here's the thing. And apparently, it doesn't help you win in the playoffs. That's for sure. They need a magical amulet for that.
Yeah,
If
I
I
don't
was the
know what that
captain
would
of the
be.
Toronto Maple Leafs, I would also get into magical amulets. John
Austin
Tavares probably
Matthews?
won't. John Tavares probably won't see any of your tweets making fun of his cursed amulet, but your friends who keep getting hexed by Etsy witches will.
Unreal.
I think it's the same shame John won't see any of your really funny tweets about his cursed amulet, given that it repels Wi-Fi.
Right. There was a screenshot of him on a team Zoom meeting. You're like, he's probably really mad you guys made him connect to Wi-Fi.
This one right here was, I think, one of our favorites. This one here, where flying puck into the Toronto Maple Leafs bench. Everybody is ducking out of the way, seemingly very scared of this puck, and John Tavares is just standing or sitting still.
1,000-yard stare. It's like,
Yes.
this won't hurt me. This sign won't stop me because I can't read.
All right, let's see if there's any more. Let's see.
There was the Sue Sylvester one. That I think originally it's like, I'm gonna create an environment that is so toxic, and they took Sue Sylvester from Glee and they put John Tavares' head on her, and then they wiped out the rest of the text and just like ransom noted it together, so it just says amulet. I don't know. The funniest part about it is that they're calling it an amulet. Like if it was necklace, it wouldn't have the same zest, the same sting, the same aura about it. But
Right.
calling it an amulet elevates it to a certain
Absolutely.
level. Yeah.
Yes. Another last one I want to read. Somebody said here that the amulet can also heal wounds. Accordingly, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he has his little quote here on the website. Somebody quoted that and said, "Pirates in 1624, handshake emoji. Toronto Maple Leafs in 2024. The evil amulet is corrupting my captain."
Yeah. There's also that picture of John Tavares like with Austin Matthews, and Austin Matthews has like 6 chains on. They're like, he's wearing them to counteract the effects of the amulet.
Yes.
So anyway, if you want to have yourself a really good time, just go on Twitter and search amulet and scroll. It's hours of entertainment guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't have anything else on that topic other than that I love it. Please keep doing it. People on hockey Twitter, please keep doing it.
It's been
don't ever let this die.
It's been the only fun thing about hockey this year so far, for sure.
Yeah, hockey's no longer fun anymore, and we don't care. So anyway, speaking of magic, let's go to Agatha. Episode 6 aired last week. I mean, I guess we're recording really late in the week, and typically we do this on like Sunday. It's now Tuesday, so we get a new episode tomorrow. So it's been a full week. So let's see how much we remember about what occurred last week on Wednesday in our teen-centric episode of Agatha. What were your thoughts initially?
Okay, yeah. So this was the episode. That was the longest episode of the season so far, and so we got that. And again, yeah, it was focused pretty much entirely on our teenage hero Billy Kaplan, Billy Maximoff, and I've only watched the episode once. I haven't gone back and watched it again, but my initial thoughts on the episode were Joe Locke, incredible. He was terrific all episode. Terrific casting by Marvel. One of the great things about Marvel is I feel like their casting department like never misses. They are so good at casting. I believe they've had the same casting director for all 15 plus years, however many years the MCU at this point.
That's
15
incredible.
plus years. And she
Yeah.
does a terrific job. And Joe Walk is the latest casting. They nailed it.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we get all of Billy's backstory here. And so after first watch, I was a little disappointed for me. I think it's grown on me a little bit since then after hearing a lot of other people's opinions about it. But like as a singular episode, it was really well done and really well acted and whatnot. My biggest problem with it is it felt like an episode that should have been part of a longer run of episodes rather than an 8 episode or 9 episode like mini series.
Yeah, so not like placed where it was because I see what you mean. Like sequentially, it didn't make sense to do a lot of the focus
Because
here
this
now.
is an episode that you get a flashback episode focused on one character is an episode that
Mhm.
you would get back when we were doing 22 episodes of television. Where
Sure.
you get a lot more time to spend with these characters. But when you're in a 9 episode season and the name of your show is Agatha all along, and your main character is kind of barely in the episode except for the very end, the last 5 or 10 minutes of it.
Yeah.
That was what was really strange to me. Where as good as the episode was, it didn't change the narrative all that much outside of what we already knew,
Mhm.
and it didn't move the story forward after the terrific episode 5,
Yeah.
right? Where it ended and we were like, holy crap, this is incredible. And then you get to this and you're like, good episode, but I wanted more. I wanted more Agatha. I wanted more Rio, and instead we got Billy, which is fine. Like that's yeah.
It's fine. No, I agree with you there. And I think like you said, and we haven't had any character-centric episodes on the other members of the Coven to date, and it doesn't seem like we're really getting a lot of that going forward. We've been told that 7, which comes out tomorrow, so it'll already be out by the time you hear this episode, is maybe a little bit more Lilia-centric, and we got a little bit more of her in this episode than we have in the past, but we really didn't see a lot. We haven't seen a lot from Jen. We saw her trial, but we didn't get a lot of focus on
Right.
her. We didn't get a lot from Alice, who apparently now is firmly among the dearly departed, and we're not getting her back, which is
Joining Mr.
garbage.
Shirt.
Absolute garbage. Yeah, it answered some questions. It left some questions. We didn't get a lot of forward progression, and we only have 3 episodes remaining. So we have a lot of story to tie up in not a lot of time. And based on the previous sort of pattern that we've been seeing, I'm hoping we'll get more 45-minute episodes running forward. But if we start getting like another 30-minute, there's just too much left to wrap it all up. However, you and I both know that Marvel is incapable of doing a project without setting up something else.
Yes.
So if this works out, listen to me here. Look me in the eyes when I say this. If you created this show solely to advance Billy's character and set up for the Wiccan series, meet me in a dark parking lot after hours. I just want to talk. Why did you... There's no need, right? Because Agatha in the comics, as we understand it, is just sort of this like weird, mysterious old lady who just occasionally shows up. But people fell in love with her character because of how amazing she was in WandaVision, and we wanted to see more of it. And then they brought this whole series in, and they're like, Catherine Hahn is going to be the lead. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have this whole story. And they brought her back, and then halfway through, you shifted the focus to Billy, and then you're continuing that story instead. It's unfair to the people that signed up for the show called Agatha all along to make it Billy and his friends, as we said last week. Anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think you exactly nailed it, and that's the feeling I got after watching that episode. I was like, I think we even talked about it. I think I even
Mhm.
talked to you. I was like, dude, I swear to God, if that's the only reason they made this damn show, like just like you talked about, that's what I'm feeling. It's like my favorite part of the show is Agatha and Rio. That's who I want to see
And
more
they're
of.
retconning all of that stuff now too. Like you're going in these it's like you're gaslighting us into believing all of this stuff, and then you're going back on it. It's like, wait a minute. Well, actually, no. The Black Heart was Billy. You're like, stop taking those things away from us. Enough. We've
Yeah,
had
I was
enough.
like, I want that's after the first 4 episodes, like I want more Agatha and Rio, and their relationship is what hooked me into the show. And that's what I want more of. And as great as Joe Locke is, like you got to give us more Marvel of Agatha. And I understand that Aubrey Plaza is an actual movie star, and she probably had a bunch of other projects going on at the same time. That's fine, okay, but like,
So is Catherine Hahn. Like
yeah,
contractually, you go and get these people, and I'll say this, which I think you'll probably agree with, but we haven't seen a dynamic like that very much yet, where like if Rio turns out to be sort of a death figure as we're suspecting, we've never seen a character dynamic like that before, where you have an interaction between death and another character, and there's a relationship there and there's a story to be told. And it's such an interesting thing to get to explore for the first time, but it seems like we're backing away from that, and I'm not enjoying that dynamic.
and again, that's the thing. That's the thing that's so frustrating about like today's television is, especially these Marvel shows where, like I mentioned earlier, 8 and 9 episodes anymore I just don't work as well as they may be used to. I used to hate 22 episode seasons because I felt like there was so much filler. Like as big a fans as we were of the Arrowverse and Supergirl and Arrow
Mhm.
and Flash and all those,
So much filler, so much.
yeah, like you got so much filler in there,
Mhm.
and now you go to these 9 episode seasons. And now I kind of feel the complete opposite, where I feel like there's a happy medium where we just go too fast through this and we don't have enough time to tell the story of these characters that those 22 episodes seasons really did well. So even though we
Mhm.
got those filler episodes that really weren't advancing the overall story, well, at least you got something and you got character interactions that were worth it, that advanced, the characters more. So you got to fall in love with these characters. And Marvel has done that in a way with Agatha and with Rio and a lot of the Coven. And then by the time they have that now, where we like these characters, they're going to be gone by episode 9. And so I wish they would continue these characters in either another season or make longer or make the season longer. And I think we're going to get that with Daredevil Born Again in next year, where they were making a little bit longer seasons. I think they were planning to make that an actual serial TV show where they're going to
Mhm.
make multiple seasons, which is nice. But again, yeah, to wrap up, like just give us something more Marvel than introducing Billy and making the entire show just giving us Billy. Like that's not what we all signed up for, dude. That's not why people are tuning into this show. I'm sorry, Joe Locke. You're great. You said that before, but that's not why people are watching this show.
Yeah. No, that's true. I'll say this, the only 2 Marvel projects that I have felt comfortable and, like, good with that 8-episode format, because I felt like it was a complete circle. WandaVision, originally, I feel like that worked. Like, yes, we were gonna be left on a cliffhanger, but we knew that the entire time. Sure, it was setting up for something different, but it felt like a complete story by the end. And it focused where it was supposed to focus the whole time. The second one, maybe debatable here, but I felt like Hawkeye did a good job of taking that story and making a circle out of it, and yes, it set up Thunderbolts because Marvel can't do anything without setting up something else,
Mm-hmm.
but complete story. Got us invested in Clint outside of the Avengers, who we had really never seen, and also made him more comic book focused, which was awesome. Took that side of his character that we didn't get to see in the cinematic universe too much, and then gave us Kate Bishop, and fleshed out her as a character as well. That did a great job. Those are the only 2 where I've really felt comfortable with that as a package so far. I'm
Right.
hoping this series still, it has time still to kick that up and make that list, but we got to see. I would like to run by you. I have 2 theories at the moment. because I've been scheming, plotting, theorizing about how this could end. I've seen this going around, which is that maybe Rio is on the road to get Billy because technically he's in somebody else's body, which is like not chill, based on the laws of the multiverse or whatever else. That's like kind of not cool. I've seen that, and that maybe there could be a fight at the end, or at least like an argument and a disagreement about what happens with Billy, because Agatha has sort of adopted this child at the moment. And maybe Rio is out to get his soul and reclaim it and fix it, essentially, for what it's done to the timeline and what it's broken along there so far, which I think could be an interesting power dynamic. The second theory is that some people are saying that it seems like we may be heading toward a reveal in which Agatha reveals that she's never walked the road or she's never completed the road before and is sort of being manipulative towards all these other people. So like, it just doesn't seem like she knows enough about what to expect in the trials and what happens. And like, she's kind of a little bit along for the ride, and whether she's just, being a good sort of passenger on this or whatever it may be, or whether she genuinely doesn't know what comes at the end. They're like, maybe she's lying about having walked the road and escaped with one other person. Maybe she never finished it. So
Right.
we don't know what lies ahead for that. But those are interesting story splits, I think, that could happen. Who knows?
Yeah, the first one is strange to me because Billy's not going to die. Like that's just not. It's unless he
No,
does.
I don't think they can at this point.
Yeah. So I hope they don't go down that road for the first, as your first theory. The second one makes a little bit more sense to me, for sure. Because there's still something big to come, of which we don't know. And I haven't been watching the trailers. I haven't been like looking at the pictures and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
I don't like doing that. I think those give away way too much, and so I like to go in as cold as possible. And even the theories, I haven't really been reading about all the theories like I used to during the WandaVision days, where I would read every possible.
Everybody was a detective back then. We were all
Yeah.
picking stuff out.
Mephisto shows up in episode 9.
Mhm. I was gonna say, I was like, every theory was like, it's Mephisto, and then it never was. You're like, dang.
There is one thing which I would like to mention here before we wrap up. Is this? I don't know if I
Mhm.
sent it to you, but I saw this, which is apparently in the comic books. They're seemingly hinting at a particular storyline that involves Wiccan and his brother and Wanda, and in this particular storyline, and this has been like rumored as a possible part of the story for the new Avengers movies, which is that Wanda and Doctor Doom wind up together, and they're like some sort of a couple. And I'm like, come on, man, can we not do that, please?
Ew, get it away from me. I don't want it.
Yeah, apparently that was a thing in the comics books, I guess, of in some way,
Give
shape, or
us the
form.
Scarlet Witch solo movie, or give us death.
Yeah, and let Jack Schaefer do it, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, do not let anybody else touch these characters. I
Right.
know that she was originally supposed to do Vision Quest, and they have since given that to somebody else to show run.
Well, that's
But
going to be garbage anyway, because nobody really cares about it. Sorry.
that's
Paul
not
Bettany,
true.
you're great, but your character is Chat GPT on wheels.
That is not true. Okay, I would agree with you before WandaVision. I didn't give two shits about the dynamic between Wanda and Vision in that in the
cinematic universe, it was
in the
different.
cinematic universe
Yeah.
before WandaVision. But WandaVision got me to like Vision as a character more. And I think you and I talked about that at the time. I was like, it made Age of Ultron a better movie to me. Because
That is true, but I
Vision
don't need
became
to. I don't need to see 9 episodes of the Ship of Theseus. That's okay. We're good.
That's true. That's so
We're
true.
good. We're good on that. Yeah,
All right, we
give
got
Jack Schaefer and Elizabeth Olsen a blank check and send them on their way.
absolutely.
Perfect. Perfect. And then get Catherine Hahn in on it. So just
Yes.
bring them all together. Bring the gang back. All right. I'm gonna let you talk about your Letterboxd endeavors for a little bit because you've been kind of on a roll. You've been continuing your spooky season Halloween watches.
Yeah. We talked about several weeks ago how I watched the first MF and the MF for the first time. And I watched The Conjuring, Friday the 13th. So that was on the last show. But since then, I went a little bit of a binge, and then kind of took a break a little bit, and then kind of came back. So we're full on spooky season, and I had seen bits and pieces of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise previously, but I've never like sat down and watched some of the sequels. And so I watched the first four Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I haven't watched the fifth one yet. Just because I just haven't been. I was like, just not haven't really quite turned into movies for me, or they're something I really want to spend my time watching. Anyway, so yeah, I
So
watched the first.
we've seen MFs 1 through 4, but not the fifth MF.
Sure, we'll
Sorry,
go with
I
that.
had to. I had to.
We'll go with that. So yeah, so the first Nightmare on Elm Street, great. I love that movie. I never watched it when I was growing up because I think I told you before I grew up on Elm Street, and so I had no business even touching that franchise with an 11-foot pole.
Such
'Cause
a valid excuse.
it scared the crap out of me. And I was like,
Yeah.
I think my parents will tell you this too. Like anytime Freddy would pop up anywhere, and like, cause I had some older cousins who were, about a decade older or so. And, growing up with them, they would try and scare the crap out of me, and they would show me like images of Freddy Krueger, and it just all, and just the look of him with the melted ass face and the thing, like, no, I was out on Freddy Krueger for pretty much my entire life. So I didn't get around to watching the original until, I don't know, until I was probably a teenager. Um, so anyway, I rewatched the first one again, and it's great. And it's not like super scary by any means watching it as an adult. But the one thing I loved about it is the story sucks, quite frankly. There's really no story to be had.
That's
We're
true.
being completely honest. But the thing I loved about Wes Craven, and most of the first part of this franchise, is just seeing those practical effects is just the coolest thing. Like every kill, if you want to call them that, like the effects that were used back then were just so cool to me.
Mhm.
And I was like, I would love to know the behind the scenes of how they pulled so much of this off in the 1980s. So that was like my favorite part of the franchise. I gave Nightmare on Elm Street 4 stars. The second one I gave 2.5 stars. Not really for me. I gave the third one 3.5 stars. Freddy got weird in that one. I said Freddy got funny in this one? Question mark. That's where he got like jumped the shark. Because have you seen the gif of him, Freddy Krueger, on the beach and he puts sunglasses on?
Yeah. Yeah, but I just while you were recapping it, I was just thinking about Scary Terry from Rick and Morty.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. My friends and I were talking about that. He basically
Mhm.
turned into Scary Terry in the back
Yeah.
half. I'm like, this just isn't for me, man. I want my Freddy to be scary as hell. I don't want this man to be a clown. And so he became a clown by the end, like episode 3 and episode 4. And so it's like episode 3 and episode 4 are perfectly fine. Like there's some really cool um sequences like kills and stuff in there, but other than that, not me. Fine. Okay, so that was that. Couple other movies. I watched a Japanese horror movie, which I'd actually recommend you check out if you get a chance to watch it. That I think you might like it. It's called Pulse. Um, and it is. I'm gonna read the description here on the.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I consider myself to be, pretty hip in I'm in those circles of good
Yeah.
movies, but
Yeah,
I've not heard of that one.
this came out in 2001. I actually saw this recommended on a TikTok, and people were like, "Here are some like spooky season movies to watch," and they were like these kind of like not mainline ones. Like Pulse is one of them,
Sure.
for example. And
Sure.
so here's what Pulse is. In the immense city of Tokyo, the darkness of the afterlife lurks some of its inhabitants who are desperately trying to escape the sadness and isolation of the modern world. Now, this movie is not particularly scary at all. So you call it Japanese horror. It's not. I wouldn't call it a horror film per se, but it's. There's a couple of sequences that are kind of wild and cool to watch in this movie. It's really well directed. But just the premise of the movie is so interesting to me, and so I gave it 4 stars because of that, because it is such a fascinating thing. It's a fascinating movie to think about. So like you watch it and you're afterwards and go, whoa. And it came out in 2001 and it is still relevant today because it's talking about how the internet isolates us. And so that was kind of the main crux of the movie, and
Sure.
that's still, so I recommend you check it out. I think it's really a really interesting movie.
All
Um
right.
and the last one I watched is a movie called Inland Empire. Now this movie is a movie from David Lynch.
I'm only familiar with the minor league baseball team.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, David Lynch directed this. He was the one who did he did the 1980s Dune. He did TV series in the early 90s, whose name its name is just escaping me. That's really weird and people love it, and name I can't remember. But anyway, he did that too. Um Twin Peaks. He did Twin Peaks. There we go.
Oh yeah, he did do Twin
Yeah.
Peaks.
So this came from that same TikTok, and dude, I tell you, here's the thing. This movie's 3 hours long, okay? This movie's 3 hours long.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's being held hostage. That's a hostage
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. I could not tell you what this movie's about. I still have no idea what this movie's about. I don't know. I have no idea. It was the most confusing and confounding movie I think I've seen in a long, long time. I still gave it 3 stars and call it watchable because it is, a lot of movies nowadays can be visually uninteresting, and Marvel to an extent is like this, where they just kind of churn out kind of the same movie and over, and they work inside this little box and they don't
Sure.
really, it's nothing different or interesting. This movie, at least visually, is just one of the wildest goddamn movies you will ever see in your life. Like, if you have 3 hours to kill, folks, and you want to watch a movie that will make no sense to you, but you can't take your eyes off of it because you're just like, what the hell am I watching? But it is done in like the most unique and interesting way possible. I check out Inland Empire. It's a trip, dude. It's a trip. Also apparently it was shot entirely with a camcorder.
Really?
So
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
that's interesting.
So if you
Yeah,
have 3
I'm
hours
like,
to
you're really
kill,
selling it there. You're like, well, if you have 3 hours to kill and you don't want to know what's happening any of the
yes,
time,
yes,
watch this movie.
yes. I gave my review of this movie on Letterboxd is, this movie wasn't meant to be understood, just taken in by your eyeballs. Like that's
All right, fair enough. Yeah. There are
so.
certainly some movies like that.
One last movie I do want to mention because it is my favorite movie of the year. I think maybe up there with I had that, and I think I had Challengers. So I went and saw Saturday Night, which is the Saturday Night Live movie, which takes place pretty much entirely in real time in the 90 minutes leading up to the debut of Saturday Night Live in 1975. And people have been like overanalyzing this movie, and they've been talking about how, well, what was the point of it? We already know that Saturday Night Live gets on the air, so why is this interesting at all? And I don't understand any of that, because this movie's only 90 minutes long, which is perfect. And the cast is incredible. So many terrific young actors in this movie. That are worth going out and buying a ticket to go see this movie. It was really well directed. It was directed in this very kind of like, one take, moving the camera all the time,
Sure,
very,
sure, sure.
very quick kind of editing to it. And it gives itself a sense of pace, and that plays out like a thriller in a way, as they try to get this show on the air.
Sure, like you've given the audience a firm deadline that you're working against. So there's the
Yes.
tension of that the whole time. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was funny. The cast was great. Direction was great. And truly one of my favorite movies of the year. I give it 4.5 stars. It was that damn good.
All right.
And I recommend going to see it. Don't listen to the critics who are way over analyzing this movie. This is what movies are supposed to be. in my opinion, is just movies like Saturday Night, which is fun as hell. 90 minutes, you'll laugh and watch great actors give great performances, and we also get a performance from one Naomi McPherson who was in the movie playing Janice Ian, which was great. I was the
Right.
only one.
I will watch and listen to anything that they're in, that Naomi is in.
And
So
I saw the movie with me, and like there were like two or three other people in the theater. And when
Mhm.
Naomi showed up, I was like, "Hey, I know them."
Hey, they're awesome. Great. And you were probably like the only dude that was excited about it. They're like, who is this person? You're like, well,
Yes,
if you were just with the culture, girl, like,
exactly.
sorry to say. Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's on my watch list, right up there with We Live in Time, which is
Yes,
out now.
I don't
I
want to
want
go
to
see
see
that.
it.
I
Okay,
do
I
want to
want to
see the
see
movie,
it.
but I want to see it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but this is my gripe. I don't know if it's just because of where I live or whether they're just not showing it in all the theaters, but they're not showing it in my local theater. So I would have to go to Indianapolis to see this because they're only showing it at like big theaters up there. And I was like, what the heck? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because
Wait, for real?
we get every other movie down here, but yeah, we can't.
This is a big movie. This is
Yeah,
one of the big movies
they're
of the
not showing
year.
it locally, or maybe they're not showing it locally yet. But like, I checked showtimes for a little while after, and I wasn't able to get it down here.
Maybe they're
So
just maybe it's in like it's not in wide release yet. Maybe.
it should be. You're just costing yourself box office revenue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, I do want to see the movie. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield are terrific, and
Mhm.
but here's the thing: I do not want to go to the movie theater by myself and cry in a movie theater because
Okay, we are
everybody.
getting it. We're getting it this week. Let's
Yes.
go. Let's
All
go.
right. Huge.
Let's go.
So I'm waiting for it to be released at home so I can cry in the confines of my own apartment building. Yeah.
I'm gonna go cry by myself in public.
I've heard this this movie's it's very, very good, but also a little bit of a tearjerker. So
Yeah, I'm gonna cry in public. It won't be the first time and it won't be the last. So might as well.
all right. Do we have anything else? I think or do we
Just briefly, I just want to briefly give a shout out. I saw another concert this week. That so ends my run of shows. That is like, I don't know, four or five concerts in like 5 weeks, going back to last month where we started with JB Trip. This one ended. So I've seen tons of different capacity venues throughout this run of shows. So it was like 800 for us at JB. It was, I don't know, maybe 2,500 for my coin show, like midsize. Basketball stadium for Clancy Tour, so giant, obviously. This one, 150 capacity room, like the kind of place that the fire marshal needs to go and make sure that there's not too many people in. You know what
right?
I mean? Like it's a room, right? But it was amazing. There's no barricade, so you were just right up on the stage, and such a cool show. The headliner was Friday Pilots Club. I would also like to give a shout out to our two openers, Family Dinner from New York. I wanted to say Long Island, but I don't know whether it's Staten Island, and I know that's offensive if I say the
Mhm.
other.
Right.
So, Family Dinner from New York. You guys were great. And Capital Soiree, who is sort of a secondary. So, these are all just kind of gigging musicians, right? So, like, they're in multiple projects at once. So, one of the members of Friday Pilots Club is also in Capital Soiree. I think they're from Chicago. Friday Pilots is from Chicago. Um, they were really great. They just put out a new song. So if you're interested, on Spotify and you follow the same music circles that Richie and I do, go give it a listen because you'll probably like it. Um, and then Friday Pilots was awesome. They're a 5-person outfit. They're from Chicago. The lead singer is originally from Indianapolis, so cool roots. Um, back in his hometown, and I think they said they haven't played here in like 5 or 6 years, but we made them swear that they would come back because it was such an
Right.
awesome show. But yeah, it was just the kind of room where like everybody is just breathing music. It was incredible. And they were all super nice. All the members of all of the bands that we talked to that were just hanging out after the show and talking to fans, selling merch, obviously, but they were like just giving music tips and giving advice. And they're like, here's what bass I play and why, and just all kinds of stuff, just with people that love music. And just to be around it is such a cool environment. And especially a couple of the members of Friday Pilots that I got the chance to talk to after the show, I feel like maybe that's just my perception, but I feel like they're bigger than the need to do that. But they were super courteous to everybody that they talked to, and just kind of wanted to know about you and how you got here, and really seemed touched by the fact that we loved it and we all had a great time. Amazing show. They're almost done with this run of tour, so I want to say it'll be done by the end of the week. So by the time this episode comes out, but keep an eye out for them if they come to your city next, because like I've been to a lot of shows and I haven't been able to define what it is, but when you see a band and you're like, they have it. It's the presence, it's the star power, it's the music, whatever it is. But that thing that has the potential to take you and make you big, they have it. And they seem like really great people. So very deserving. And check them out wherever you listen to music, because they're cool dudes.
Yeah, you sent me a video from the show, and the pit was open. The pit
was
open.
so open. There were a couple songs where and I felt bad because there's no barricades, so their photographers don't really have any place to scurry around in front of the crowd, so they were in it with us, and we were doing our very best to give them space whenever they tried to come through and be in front of us and up close to the stage. I know we bumped them a couple of times. My fault. We were going hard. There were a couple of songs where it was like, everybody get down real low and then just you lose it. Just go for it. And it was super fun. It's always so fun to be in a room like that where just the energy is high and people are loving it. And it's infectious. And at my big old age, I was still able to throw down. So going hard.
The pit that makes you old.
That's every pit for me from this point forward. So,
and you are so much younger than me. Imagine me having however many years much older I am than you are.
Okay, boomer. Well, at least I have my hearing. At least I have my hearing. I will tell you, look, I'm not sponsored, so I won't say the brand. But if you go to a lot of shows, please get yourself concert earplugs, because they will save your hearing. Even after the opener, the kids next to me, who are for sure younger than I was, were like, I can't hear a thing. We were directly in front of the stage getting just blasted by the speaker boxes. Right. And it's a small room, right? It's like if you were to go to a basement show, essentially, it would be like the same acoustics, which were incredible for the room, by the way. Shout out to the sound decks and everybody involved in that. But get yourself concert earplugs. There's tons of brands out there. I promise it won't compromise the show for you. You're still going to be able to hear everything. You'll be able to hear yourself, but your ears won't ring after the show, and you'll save your hearing and you won't have to yell later in life. So do that.
Yeah, I've been to too many races without ear protection to so yeah, by the time I'm 40, I'm like, huh? What?
I got bad news for you. I think you're already there. You're already about halfway there.
That's not true.
Well, I don't know. Based on the volume that we were listening to Von Dutch with the bass booster in that rental car going back from JB trip, we might both need it.
Side note, I found out that I have always had that bass enhancer on in my Nissan.
It's always been on.
Yeah, no I've had it on had that car for nearly probably 5 years now at this point. And I was like, do I have that in my car? Is it? Turns out, yes. Apparently it's always been on. And I had no idea.
On. No way. Oh my God. Well, the more you know.
And it's great. It's great. I love it.
All right. Would you like to give any final thoughts on Cooper Kupp at the moment? Because that was our last bullet point. Just quickly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go jump off a cliff. Hang on, let me.
Stop. We don't mean that. Fake violence.
Rumors are that the Rams might trade Cooper Kupp, and I don't like that. And if it does, this show will never happen again, and you'll never see me again.
He's gonna go into his darkness retreat era.
And I'm gonna go jump off a very tall something. I'll survive, I think.
No, he's not. I can't do the show without you, so we have to keep this going at least for a little while. Until we both decide that nobody listens and we can abandon the project, you have to stay.
Just win the next 2 games and get to 4 and
carry the 1.
Get to 4 and 4. If they go to 4 and 4 in the next 2 games before the trade deadline, then we're good. I think they're going to stick around and make another
Puka's
run.
coming back. Puka's coming back to save you.
Puka's coming back. We are so back. Yes. So if Cooper leaves me, at least I'll have Puka. So that maybe that will keep me alive.
Yep. That'll maybe keep my fantasy team alive as well. Okay. Before we bore you guys with any more football talk, because we know you don't come here for the sports. Thank you for those of you that have listened over the last, I don't know how many episodes. You guys are great. You got us on a roll right now. Not like my immune system, clearly. 1 second. Don't
you
click
need your
this.
substance. You need your substance of emergency and liquid IV.
Stop! Don't make me laugh. I did. I mixed a half an emergency with liquid IV. There's a tweet about it. It's out there publicly that I did this. It didn't help, apparently. Anyway, thank you to those of you that have stuck with us over the last couple of episodes. Please keep coming. We're going to have more Agatha content. Obviously, we'll have kind of maybe a Halloween special for you. It'll be our first Halloween episode with the show next week. So that'll be super cool. And we're looking forward to that. And yeah, we appreciate you. You can follow us at OHOBC Pod, wherever you get your social media and wherever you'd like to hear us yap at you for over an hour. For Richie, I have been Jordan. Thanks for joining us yet again. We'll see you next time.